Hi, bit of a change of subject for the video today. This is a bit of an experiment. I've been concentrating on like pure cooking, and this is going into the realms of baking, but it's because I want us to do, I'm helping out with a group of us in the locality to do meals and baked goods and things for people that are struggling situation with the COVID-19, being isolated and vulnerable. So I wanted to do something different for them, and I wanted to do something using bread flour because I've got my mitts on a bit of bread flour, and I thought, well, I'll do Chelsea Buns. When I was on the Great British Bake Off, I had a few minor triumphs and a few disasters, pretty much like standard baking in my kitchen. But the recipe that I'm basing today's, it came in this book, and this, believe it or not, is my actual recipe, and it's my actual photograph of the Chelsea bun that I made in bread wheat. And it went down really well, and Prue Leaf particularly liked it, and Paul Hollywood thought it was okay. So I'm using I'm varying the filling a little bit, but for the actual dough, I've got in here 500 grams of strong white bread flour, and I'm going to put into there 40 grams of caster sugar, because of course it's sweetened, enriched bread is a Chelsea bun. And I'm going to put in, yeast, fast action dried yeast. I've got 2.5 teaspoons, okay, and I'm putting that at one side of the bowl. And I'm putting the salt, which I've got 10 grams of salt, just table salt, at the other side. Reason being that if the salt makes direct contact at this stage with the yeast, it will kill the yeast and we won't have a rise, and that's no good at all. So that's going in the other side. And then I'm reading my own instructions. It says rub the softened butter, right? So I've got, it isn't actually butter, so this is an experiment. This is stark margarine, but I've got it in, you see, and butter's dear to practice with. So this is 60 grams, and that is nice and soft. And I say in my book to rub that in. I'm sitting down. Normally I would stand up to make anything with bread, but it's a bit awkward in my conservatory stroke studio to do that. So I'm just soft, but using the tips of my fingers, it's lovely, it goes in so easily, into the flour mixture, rub it about so it gets evenly sort of distributed through there. Of course, when it gets kneaded together, it'll all get in where it needs to be. And then to make the dough, I have got 2 beaten eggs and warm-ish milk, and when I say warm, I mean like tepid. Again, if you've got too much heat, it will kill the yeast. So it's just like tiny bit of 10 seconds in the microwave probably. And I'm just going to, I'm reading my own, it's a long time since I was on Bake Off. It says make a well in the middle. So I'm just going to make a space, and I'm going to pop in the eggs. And I'm going to pop in milk. And then it's just a question of getting, at this stage, just getting that mixture pulled into a dough. I've got a bit more flour here for dusting it down and the hands and that. I mean, I don't want you to be adding loads and loads of flour to it because it will change the consistency of the overall finished product. But sometimes with flour, you don't know how much liquid. All flours absorb liquid at a different rate. So I think this is going to be fine. This is where I get my hands dirty. So normally I would stand up, but if I stand up, you'll only see half me, which is possibly for some people might be a nice change. So you can see I'm bringing that in with my hand there. So this is a Chelsea bun. This is the first stage of the process. It's not something we can rush. So when I've done what I'm doing in the first stage, I'll be turning off the video and coming back to it later. So I'm just popping that now onto my surface, and this is where we knead it. Now you probably all know that making bread involves kneading, yeah, and the reason it needs a good old knead is to stretch the gluten. In flour we've got gluten, and opposite to baking with cake you don't want to disturb the gluten, you want to be gentle, soft, but with flour, with bread, you need to really knock the gluten about. The more the better, really, because that will stretch it, the strands, and it will become lovely and elastic and soft and smooth and bouncy. And that is what will give us the nice bread texture. It'll be lovely and light and fluffy, hopefully. So, I mean, really, you can just bash it about, everything you like. My preferred method, actually, I use my hand and my wrist, and I really push down with that part, the heel of my wrist, and around and around and around, and then up and so on and so on. And it takes, I've put in here 7 to 10 minutes. I know that's quite a long time to watch anybody doing that, isn't it? And I don't think you need me to do that, but I will continue in your absence. When it's done, when you've done all that, it will be nice and soft, smooth, and when you prod it, it will spring back. And if you take a little tiny bit, this is called the window pane test. It won't work now because I haven't done it long enough. You can stretch the dough thinner and thinner and thinner. Hold it up to the light, so thin that you can actually nearly see through it in this light without it tearing, and that means the gluten's nice and stretchy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this for the required amount of time, and then I'm going to put it into another bowl I've got like this, a clean one, and I've oiled it slightly. Put it in. I'm going to cover the top and leave it until it's sort of, does it say double in size? Till it dries to about double in size, yeah. And that's when I'll come back and we'll have a look at the next stage. I like it. It's a great stress buster, this. You can do whatever you want with the dough. Give it a real good work out. Ooh. Take that. So yeah, I'll see you in about an hour. Bye for now. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, the Chelsea bun dough. I put it in, initially I put it in the airing cupboard, but we haven't got the heating on today, so it was slow progress. It will rise without extra heat, just at room temperature, but I wanted to speed it up, and I have got a proving program on my steam oven, so I haven't used it before. I'm really delighted to say, look, it worked. So you can see it really has doubled in size. I'm going to just leave that as is a moment, because we're going to make a bit of a filling. But before I do that, I'm going to mention the milk. I don't think I gave you the quantity. If I did, well, I apologise, but it was butter, milk, dried yeast, milk. 250 millilitres of milk, warm, just blood warm milk. So, the filling, right, on the Great British Bake Off I use quite an elaborate filling, but I'm not doing that today, it's not necessary, we're keeping it simple. I'm using the ingredients at hand because my initial one used ground almonds and marzipan and kirsch and all manner of stuff. I'm just going to stick with some mock butter. When I say mock, I mean it's stock again. And I'm just going to put, it's nice and soft, I'm just going to put it in a bigger bowl. And I've got, so that is butter, that's 75 grams going in. And this is caster sugar, 75 grams, so equal measures. Now then, what I should have done really is to warm this to make it molten, because I want to I'm going to just get my fingers in because I'm unprepared. But basically, I just want to mix that butter and sugar together to make it so that it's a sort of a spreadable sugary butter. And then we're going to add some, I've got some dried fruit, I've got an orange, and I'm going to zest the orange. So I've just sort of got that going, and I am now going to zest a bit of orange because I've decided that I'm going to have an orange topping because I've got some lovely good quality marmalade to use, and that will be a nice orangey glaze on the finish to make it a sticky top. So we're just going to put the zest of the orange, or however much you want really, into the filling. There we go. Just get that out. Get that out. Lovely. And I'm going to just pop that zest into the buttery sugary mixture, and then that's where I feel a little bit better. That's fine. That's lovely. See? And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, with bated breath, the dough. So we're going to get this out on a slightly floured surface. Okay. And do that, and it sort of deflates it. Then that's what I want. So I want that to happen. So there we are. Lovely and springy and squashy, and just exactly how I want it to be. I'm just going to pat that down a little bit, and then I'm going to form it into a rectangle. Now I have brought out, I'm going to use this in actual fact. I'm going to use a rolling pin. Can you see? Yeah. I'm doing this fast because obviously I don't want you to get bored and wander off. You can also just figure it out with your fingers. Sort of like an A4-ish size. I want it to be quite regular-ish in terms of the edges. But because it's so beautifully stretchy, because it's worked, that kneading that we did earlier, and the lovely waiting for it to prove, that's the first prove that we did for the hour or so. So it's sort of doubled in size. And then we get to this bit, and I'll show you. So, there we go. So now the filling, okay. So we've got our lovely sugary butter, and I'm going to, using this little offset spatula or a butter knife, whatever you want, we're going to spread it on. Now we've got the flecks of the orange peel in there, so it's looking lovely and promising. Ooh, it certainly is. Let's get it all out as much as possible. Should have brought a spatula. I don't want to leave you unattended too many times. You might drift off. And I don't mean to sleep. You might go to sleep. Right, so we're going to lovely spread that as much as you want across. Make sure it's got a good covering. Okay, and next up is, I think I've taken most of the zest off that. If it was a bigger orange, I would have continued. So I've got some dried fruit. So if you don't like candied peel, I'm not very fond, I wouldn't put masses in it. But because it's an orangey flavouring going into the Chelsea buns, I think it will coat. So a nice layer of fruit. Nice, lovely. How much? Well, I didn't measure it, but that ramekin. So probably, let me consult my own recipe. 2 tablespoons of dried fruit. Okay, I use cranberries in my original recipe, so it's entirely your call. And then I've got 2 teaspoons full of cinnamon, which is a fairly standard sort of spice in a Chelsea bun. A really lovely one. And I might not put all of it. I will put all of it. It might be a bit OTT, but hey. Right, and then the exciting part, this is where I'm going to roll it. So I'm turning it short side to me, and I'm starting at this end to just start this. Can you see? Yes, you can, lovely. Evenly as you want, so we can manage to cross. Lovely. It smells, honestly, it smells a bit like Christmas with that cinnamon and orange in here. And I'm just taking it along like so. I'm not messing about. Turning it round, and then I'm just sort of sealing the edges down, just so, making a sausage of it. Can you see? I want to get 12 slices out of this, and I will, just shaping it evenly with my fingers. It's so beautifully squashy, honestly, it's absolutely delightful. Can you see now where we're at with that? And then with a sharp knife, of which I have one, I'm going to cut it into 6. So what I always do is go for the middle first, so I cut it into 2, sawing it rather than pushing. I'm sawing it down to try to keep the lovely swirl inside. I'll show you the swirls in a bit, and then I'm going to go into half again, slicing it through like so, and again, and then each one into 3, which will give us 12. Down. The end ones are usually the trickiest, I have to admit, and the meanest. Anybody who's on a diet gets the end ones. So there we go, and all we do then is put them onto a baking sheet, and then I'm going to brush the tops with beaten egg. Just try and keep in. Can you see the swirl? There we go. Nearly done. You'll need to preheat your oven, and I'll tell you what temperature in a second when I check, because I have no idea. It'll be a hot one, I should think, for bread. Last one down, and then last one down. Lovely. So we've got our 12. Now then, in the bake-off, I put them into a tin with a rim, a round one. So when they sort of puffed up in the oven, they stuck to each other and made like a tear and share. I'm not doing that today, but we'd prefer them to as a puff up on the flat tray to join. That's just what you do. So I've got that tray, I've got some grease proof. These look tremendous. I'm really pleased. Look, you see there. So I'm going to go with 4 along here, and then 3 rows of 4 will take just about right. You do get, when you've done this a few times, you do get the sort of eye for spacing and for the size of the tray, but I think you can figure it out from here. I'm excited. I am excited about this venture. So there we go. See, there's gaps, but those gaps will fill when they go into the oven, but they're not actually going in the oven quite yet. So I've got some beaten egg, and what I'm doing here is I'm brushing the top of each one to give it a nice golden finish. And then these need a second proof. So you remember we left the dough alone, didn't we? In a warm place. Well, this time we're going to leave the buns for about half an hour. Doesn't matter really, not less, but you can leave it for longer than that. and then they will start to puff up again, and then we put them into the oven. So I will obviously come back and show you them just before I pop them in the oven. Lovely. What I do, and I recommend this, although it's not absolutely essential, by using a big bag, like as a tent, to cover them up, it sort of warms them up and gets that second groove going, just like that. And I'm going to leave them alone and go and have a cup of tea and wash up, and then I'll come back and we'll see if they're puffed up, and then I'll get the oven. I'm going to preset the oven to 190 degrees or 170 fan, so it's quite hot, and I'll see you soon. Don't go far away. Okay, I'm back. I'm actually standing up now, so I'm going to lift up the tray of Chelsea Buns for you to see. So they've started to puff up and join up slightly, just slightly, see? So they're telling me they're ready to go in the oven. They're going into my oven and they're going to stay in there for 30 to 40 minutes until they're golden brown and puffed up and they smell delicious. I'll just say now though, so that we're ready when we come back, I'm going to glaze them with a little bit of marmalade, which I've loosened off with some boiling water, so it's like a nice consistency to paint on with my pastry brush. And then, see, this is icing sugar. I'm going to make just some ordinary glacé icing, and I'm going to pop it into a little piping bag. So basically I'm going to paint the top of the warm Chelsea Buns with the marmalade, and then I'm going to drizzle. Now, if you haven't got piping bags like this, you can make them out of paper. But to be honest, don't worry, you can you don't even need to. You can wait till they're cold and just sprinkle icing sugar over if you want, or you can make this and use a teaspoon and just. I'm just going to try to do it as sort of smart as I can, but you don't need to go to any massive trouble. There's lots of different ways to glaze and decorate the top of your Chelsea Buns. So I'm going to go into the kitchen now and pop them into that preheated oven and watch this space. Won't be long. Be worth waiting for. See you soon. Hello, hi! The sun's come out. I hope you can see me. It's so bright in here. But anyway, I'm really, really, really excited. Look, I've got my sooty and sweeps on. Hey! Can you see what we made? Absolutely, they're piping hot, straight out of the oven. So I am going to glaze them nicely with the loosened marmalade. This is entirely optional. But when they're warm, they will take and hold the shine from a glaze like this. You could use maple syrup or honey. Oh, lovely. Look at this. Look, can you see? Can you see? Oh, wow. I wish the sun would, I don't often say it, but I wish the sun would go in so that you could see the final result in more detail, to be frank. But I'm sure you can get enough of a picture to sort of hopefully do this yourself. It's quite a lengthy process, but not, there's a lot of waiting in between, isn't there? That's the thing. But oh, what? Now then, I might as well try and give them a really nice top coat. I'll show you again, see if you can see the difference now. Can you see? Sparkling. Now then, I've made the icing, just icing, sugar and water. It might be too hot to hold, it might actually melt the sugar. But, so normally you would wait a little bit for this until they'd cooled down a bit. But let's just see. Can you see? I'm trying to get it so you can see what I'm doing a little bit. Oh yeah, it's melting. But what I'll do with this, of course, is I'll go back in a little while when the buns are cool, and I will put that, but you can see what I'm going to do there, just for an extra sugary crispy top. So there we go. They are the Chelsea buns. Actually quite easy, very satisfying to make, and delicious to eat, and a nice change from your regular cakes and things. So there we are. I'll leave you with it. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye bye. Bye.